Admiral Kang Dae-ho stared at the screen in his command center. The message had come from deep space, farther than any human had ever traveled. The signal was clear and strong, but it was not from Earth. "Sir, the transmission is repeating," said his communications officer. "It's definitely artificial. Someone is trying to talk to us." Kang felt his heart beat faster. For years, humans had wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now, they had their answer. He picked up his secure phone and called the president. "We need to gather the first contact team immediately," he said. 3 days later, Dr. Park Soo-jin stood in the same command center. She was Earth's best expert on alien life, even though she had never seen any real aliens before. Next to her stood Ambassador Lee Tae-min, a man who had spent his career making peace between human nations. Now he might have to make peace with beings from another world. Captain Choi Min-seo commanded the security team. His job was to protect Earth if these aliens were dangerous. Behind him stood 20 of the best soldiers Earth had to offer. The alien message was simple. They called themselves the Valkyrie Empire. They said they came in peace. They wanted to meet with Earth's leaders to discuss trade and friendship. "What do you think, Doctor?" asked Admiral Kang. Park looked at the data they had collected. The alien ships were huge, much bigger than anything humans had built. But they had stopped far from Earth and were waiting for permission to come closer. "They seem peaceful," she said. "If they wanted to hurt us, they could have attacked already." "Ambassador," Lee nodded. "I agree. We should talk to them. This could be the greatest moment in human history." The meeting was set for Luna Base, the human station on the moon. It was close enough to Earth to feel safe, but far enough away to protect the homeworld if something went wrong. When the Valkyrie ship landed, Park was surprised by how beautiful it was. The metal seemed to flow like water, and lights danced across its surface. The ship was 3 times bigger than the largest human building. A door opened in the side of the ship. 3 figures walked out, and Park had to remind herself to breathe. The Valkyrie looked almost human, but not quite. They were tall and thin, with pale blue skin that seemed to glow softly. Their eyes were large and silver, and they moved with perfect grace. They wore clothes that looked like they were made of liquid starlight. The leader stepped forward and spoke in perfect English. "I am Ambassador Velthara of the Valkyrie Empire. We greet you in peace, people of Earth." Lee stepped forward and bowed, slightly. "Welcome to our solar system. I am Ambassador Lee Tae-min, speaking for all humanity." The talks began in a conference room built specially for this meeting. Velthara explained that the Valkyrie Empire included 12 different alien species across hundreds of worlds. They had been exploring space for thousands of years. "We have watched your species grow," Velthara said. "You have come so far in such a short time. We believe humans and Valkyrie can help each other." She showed them pictures of Valkyrie cities. They were incredible, with towers that reached into the clouds and ships that moved between the stars like birds. The Valkyrie had medicine that could cure any disease and energy sources that would never run out. "What do you want from us?" asked Lee. Velthara smiled. "Very little. We have noticed that your ocean floors contain certain rock formations. On your world, they are worthless, but for us, they have some small value. We would like permission to mine these rocks. In exchange, we will share our medical knowledge and clean energy technology." Park leaned forward. "These rock formations, what exactly are they?" "Crystalline structures deep beneath your seas," Velthara explained. "They formed millions of years ago when your planet was young. You cannot use them, but our technology can convert them into useful materials." Admiral Kang spoke carefully. "How much mining are we talking about?" "Very small operations," Velthara assured him. "A few sites in the deep ocean where no life exists. Your people will never even notice we are there." The aliens showed them the locations on a map. They were all in the deepest parts of the ocean, far from any human cities or shipping lanes. The areas looked empty and worthless. "And in return?" asked Lee. Velthara activated a device, and images filled the air above the table. "Medicine that will end cancer, heart disease, and aging. Energy technology that will give every human access to unlimited clean power. Food production methods that could feed 1 trillion people." Park felt her breath catch. What they were offering could solve every major problem humanity faced. "There is one more thing," Velthara said. "A gift to show our good intentions." She handed Lee a small device that looked like a crystal flower. "This contains the cure for the genetic disease you call muscular dystrophy. Consider it a sign of friendship." Dr. Park took the device with shaking hands. If this was real, it would save millions of lives. Over the following weeks, Earth's best scientists studied the Velkari gift. It was real. The cure worked perfectly, with no side effects. News of the breakthrough spread around the world, and suddenly everyone wanted to work with the aliens. But Park noticed something strange. When she tried to scan the Velkari with her instruments, the readings didn't make sense. Their biology seemed to shift and change, as if her equipment couldn't get a clear picture of what they really were. "Maybe it's just their technology interfering," suggested her assistant. "Their bodies might have some kind of protective field." Park wasn't sure, but the cure was working, and the Velkari were offering so much more. Earth's leaders were eager to sign a treaty. Captain Choi was more cautious. "Admiral, something feels wrong about this. They're being too generous. No one gives away technology like this without wanting something important in return." "They want mining rights to worthless rocks on the ocean floor," Kang replied. "It seems like a fair trade." "Does it?" Choi asked. "Sir, I've been a soldier for 20 years. When someone offers you everything you want and asks for almost nothing, they're usually planning to take much more." But the pressure to sign was enormous. The Velkari cure had already saved thousands of lives. They were promising to share knowledge that would transform human civilization. Ambassador Lee met with world leaders. The vote was unanimous. Earth would sign the peaceful cooperation treaty with the Velkari Empire. The signing ceremony was held at the United Nations building in New York. Velthara signed for the Velkari, while the Secretary General signed for humanity. Cameras recorded every moment for history. "Today marks a new age for both our peoples," Velthara said. "May this friendship last forever." As she spoke, massive Velkari ships began entering Earth's atmosphere. They were mining vessels, the aliens explained, coming to begin their work on the ocean floor. The ships were beautiful and silent as they descended toward the seas. Park watched from the observation deck of a research vessel. The alien ships looked peaceful as they settled onto the ocean's surface, but something bothered her. She pulled out her scanner and pointed it at the nearest Velkari ship. The readings were impossible. According to her instruments, the ship was full of weapons. "That can't be right," she muttered, adjusting the settings. But the readings stayed the same. The beautiful, peaceful mining ships were actually warships. Park reached for her communicator to call Admiral Kang, but stopped. What if she was wrong? What if her equipment was malfunctioning? The treaty was signed. The aliens were already beginning their work. If she raised a false alarm now, it could destroy the most important alliance in human history. She decided to wait and gather more evidence. It was a decision she would regret for the rest of her life. 3 miles below the surface, the first Velkari mining beam activated. It cut through rock and metal like they were made of paper, creating a perfect tunnel straight down into the Earth's crust. The beam was designed to do much more than mine crystals, but the humans didn't need to know that yet. Ambassador Velthara stood on the bridge of her command ship and smiled. The foolish humans had given them everything they wanted. Soon, Earth would join the other 17 worlds that had made the same mistake. The Velkari Empire had a simple strategy. They always came in peace first. 6 months had passed since the Velkari began their mining operations. Dr. Park Soo-jin stood on the deck of the research ship Busan, watching something that made her stomach turn. The water around the alien mining site was wrong. It should have been deep blue, but instead, it was a sickly green color. Dead fish floated on the surface as far as she could see. The smell of death filled the air. "Dr. Park, you need to see this," called her research partner, Dr. Bae Hyun-ki. He was standing over a tank of seawater they had collected from near the mining site. Park looked into the tank. The water seemed to be eating away at the metal container. Small creatures that lived in the ocean were dissolving before her eyes. "This isn't normal mining damage," Bae said quietly. "Whatever they're doing down there, it's poisoning everything." For hundreds of miles, Park felt sick. "We have to report this immediately." But when they tried to contact the Velkhari about the environmental damage, Ambassador Velthara seemed unconcerned. "Some disruption is normal during resource extraction," she said over the video link. "Your primitive sea life will adapt or be replaced with better species from our worlds." "Replaced?" Park asked. "You can't just replace an entire ecosystem." Velthara's silver eyes grew cold. "Dr. Park, surely you understand that progress requires some sacrifice. The benefits we are providing to humanity far outweigh the loss of a few fish." The call ended, leaving Park staring at a blank screen. For the first time, she realized the aliens didn't care about Earth's life at all. Lieutenant Commander Yoon Soo-young discovered the next piece of the puzzle. She was conducting routine patrols around the mining sites when her submarine sensors picked up something strange. "Captain, the Velkhari ships are using some kind of energy beam that goes much deeper than they said," she reported to her commander. "They're not just mining the ocean floor, they're drilling all the way down to the planet's core." Her submarine moved closer to investigate. Through the murky water, she could see the Velkhari mining beam cutting down into the earth like a sword of light. But around the beam, the water itself seemed to be changing. It was becoming thicker, more acidic. Fish that swam too close simply disappeared. "Get us out of here," she ordered. "Something is very wrong." As they retreated, Yoon noticed something else. The mining sites weren't randomly placed. They formed a pattern around the globe, like someone was drawing a design on the planet itself. Colonel Shinwoo Jin made an even more disturbing discovery. His Special Forces team had been watching the Velkhari research stations that had appeared on remote islands around the world. The aliens said these stations were for studying Earth's environment, but when Shin used long-range cameras to watch the stations, he saw weapons, big ones. Energy cannons that could destroy entire cities were hidden inside buildings that looked like peaceful research labs. "Admiral, we have a problem," he reported to Kang Dae-ho during a secure video call. "The Velkhari have been lying to us from the beginning. Those research stations are military bases." Admiral Kang felt his blood turn cold. "Are you certain?" "I've been watching them for weeks, sir. They're building an invasion force right under our noses." Kang immediately called Ambassador Lee Tae-min. They needed to confront the Velkhari about these discoveries. The meeting took place at the same conference room where the treaty had been signed. This time, the atmosphere was very different. "Ambassador Velthara," Lee began carefully, "we've noticed some concerning issues with your operations. The environmental damage is much worse than you predicted, and some of your facilities appear to be military in nature." Velthara looked at him for a long moment. Then she smiled, but it wasn't a friendly smile anymore. "Ambassador Lee, your species has served its purpose. The time for pretending is over." The lights in the room dimmed, and more Velkhari entered. These weren't dressed in beautiful clothes like Velthara. They wore dark armor and carried weapons. "You, see," Velthara continued, "your planet contains something much more valuable than you realize. The crystals we're mining aren't just useful materials. They're the key to building weapons that can crack planets in half. And Earth has enough of these crystals to power our empire for 1,000 years. Lee stood up slowly. "You're breaking our treaty." "There never was a treaty," Velthara laughed. "There was only a trick to keep you calm while we prepared. We've done this 17 times before, on 17 different worlds. It always works the same way." She activated a device, and images appeared in the air. They showed other planets, other species. All of them were dead or enslaved. "This is what happens to worlds that have what we need," she said. "First we come in peace. Then we take what we want. The survivors become our workers." At that moment, alarms began ringing throughout Luna Base. Through the windows, they could see massive ships dropping out of hyperspace around Earth. The Velkhari invasion fleet had arrived. Velthara looked at her communication device. "Ah, perfect. Timing. Let me introduce you to Empress Velandra, ruler of the Velkhari Empire." A new hologram appeared. The Empress was tall and terrible, with skin like white ice and eyes like black holes. When she spoke, her voice made the room shake. "People of Earth, you have something we need. Submit now, and some of you will live as our servants. Resist, and we will turn your world into glass." The hologram changed to show Earth from space. Velkhari warships surrounded the planet like a swarm of angry insects. There were hundreds of them. You have 1 hour to surrender, the Empress continued. After that, we will demonstrate our power on one of your cities. The transmission ended. Ambassador Lee looked at the Velkari soldiers surrounding them. Why? Tell us this now, he asked. Why not just attack? Belthera shrugged. It's more efficient when the local population cooperates. Fear works better than force in the beginning. On Earth, Captain Nam Ji-Hu watched the alien fleet from his position at Luna Defense Station Sejong. His hands shook as he counted the enemy ships. Earth's entire space navy had maybe 50 vessels. The Velkari had brought 10 times that number. Sir, incoming transmission from Admiral Kang, his communications officer reported. Kang's face appeared on the screen. Behind him, alarms were ringing and people were running. Captain, I'm ordering a full evacuation of all civilian stations. Get everyone to the escape pods. What about fighting, sir? Kang was quiet for a moment. Look at your screens, Captain. Count their ships. We can't win this fight. But even as he said it, Kang knew some humans wouldn't give up. Captain Choi Min-seo was already organizing resistance cells on Earth. If humanity was going to die, they would die fighting. An hour passed. Then the Velkari kept their promise. The city of Sydney, Australia, was chosen for the demonstration. Captain Nam watched in horror as 5 Velkari ships positioned themselves above the city. A beam of pure energy shot down from space. In seconds, Sydney was gone. 3 million people turned to ash. The land where the city had stood became a crater of melted glass. This is what resistance gets you, Empress Velandra announced to the world. We will do this to every city until you surrender. Admiral Kang knew he had no choice. Earth's weapons couldn't even scratch the Velkari ships. Fighting would only get more people killed. This is Admiral Kang Dae-ho of the United Earth Defense Force, he said in a broadcast to the whole planet. I am officially surrendering on behalf of all humanity. Lay down your weapons. Don't make them angry. But his surrender broadcast was interrupted. Captain Choi Min-seo appeared on every screen, transmitting from a hidden location. This is Captain Choi Min-seo. I do not recognize Admiral Kang's surrender. Any human who wants to fight, find me. Any human who wants to live free, join the resistance. Choi looked directly into the camera. They came for our resources. They thought we would just roll over and die. But they don't know humans very well. He paused, and when he spoke again, his voice was full of cold anger. They wanted our crystals. They wanted our world. But they're about to learn what human fury looks like. The transmission cut out. Across Earth, people made their choices. Some went to the surrender points the Velkari had set up. But others disappeared into the mountains, the forests, and the abandoned cities. The war for Earth was about to begin. Dr. Park Soo-jin was one of those who chose to fight. As Velkari soldiers rounded up scientists at her research station, she slipped away with her most important data. The aliens had made one mistake. They had shown her their true nature too soon, and now she knew exactly what they were and how they might be stopped. The resistance would need every advantage they could get. The real fight was just beginning. Major Song Da-eun crawled through the ruins of what used to be Seoul. 6 months had passed since the Velkari occupation began, and the city looked like hell. Giant domes covered the major population centers, slowly changing the air inside to match the Velkari home world. The atmosphere was becoming poisonous to humans, but the aliens could breathe it perfectly. People who worked outside the domes had to wear masks just to stay alive. Song reached a broken subway entrance and climbed down into the darkness. Below, ground, the old subway tunnels had become the heart of the human resistance. Oil lamps provided dim light, and the walls were covered with maps showing Velkari positions. "Major, you're back," said Sergeant Park Jae-sung. He was a young soldier who had lost his entire unit in the first week of the invasion. Now he led scouting missions through the ruined city. "What's the situation?" Song asked. "Bad," replied Kim Yoo-jin, an engineer who had been working on improvised weapons. "They're moving people faster now. Thousands every day go to the processing centers. The strong ones get sent off-world to mining colonies. The smart ones either join them willingly or get executed." Song looked at the latest intelligence reports. The Velkari were sorting humans like cattle. Children were being separated from their parents. Families were broken apart. Anyone who showed signs of resistance was eliminated immediately. "We have to do something," she said. We can't just hide down here while they destroy our people. Kim held up a strange-looking device. I might have something. I've been studying captured Velkari equipment. Their technology works on harmonic frequencies, like sound waves, but much more complex. She activated the device, and it made a low humming noise. I think I can disrupt their equipment with the right frequency, but I need to test it on a real target. Meanwhile, far above Earth's atmosphere, Commander Lee So-min stood on the bridge of Mars Base Alpha. She had received Admiral Kang's final transmission before Earth's communication networks were cut off. The message was simple: save who you can. Avenge the rest. Mars Base had only 3 military ships and a handful of civilian vessels. Against the massive Velkari fleet, they were like insects facing a thunderstorm. But Lee refused to give up. Commander, we're picking up signals from the outer system, reported her communications officer. Something strange is happening around Jupiter. Lee looked at the sensor readings. A huge Velkari facility was being built near Jupiter's moons. It looked like some kind of command center with massive communication arrays pointing in all directions. That's how they coordinate their entire operation, she realized. If we could take that out... Commander, with respect, we don't have nearly enough firepower, said Captain Yi Sung-ho. That facility probably has more defenses than our entire fleet. Maybe, Lee said, but they're not expecting an attack from humans. They think we're all dead or captured. She began planning humanity's most desperate mission. They would hit the Jupiter facility with everything they had. Even if they died in the attempt, they might give Earth's resistance a chance. Back on Earth, Dr. Park Soo-jin and Dr. Bae Hyun-ki worked in a secret laboratory hidden deep in the Rocky Mountains. They had been studying captured Velkari technology for months, trying to understand how the aliens really worked. Look at this, Bae said, pointing to a microscopic image. I finally got a clear scan of Velkari tissue. Park leaned over the microscope and gasped. What she saw changed everything. The Velkari weren't really one species. They were parasites wearing artificial bodies. The beautiful blue-skinned humanoids were just shells. Inside each shell, a horrible worm-like creature controlled everything. That's why our scanners couldn't get clear readings, Park said. They're not really alive in the way we understand life. They're machines controlled by parasites. Bae nodded grimly. And look at this frequency analysis. The parasites use specific sound waves to control their host bodies. If we could disrupt those frequencies, the artificial bodies would shut down, Park finished. They would be helpless. It was the breakthrough the resistance needed. But they had to find a way to create the disruption frequency and get it to fighters around the world. On the surface, Major Song's resistance cell prepared for their first major operation. Intelligence reports showed that a Velkari processing center in Busan was holding over 10,000 human prisoners. They were scheduled to be shipped off-world in 2 days. This is our chance, Song told her fighters. We save those people and show the world that humans can still fight back. The team included Sergeant Park's scout unit, Kim Yoo-jin, with her experimental frequency weapon, and 30 volunteers who had lost everything to the aliens. They weren't professional soldiers, but they were angry, and that made them dangerous. Thus, plan was simple. Kim's frequency device would disrupt the Velkari guards' equipment. Song's fighters would storm the facility and free the prisoners. Escape routes through the mountains were already prepared. But as they prepared to move out, a new intelligence report arrived. The Velkari weren't just planning to ship prisoners off-world. They were accelerating their timeline for something, called the final cleansing. What does that mean? Song asked the resistance member who brought the news. According to our source inside the processing center, they're going to poison the entire atmosphere in 30 days. Make it completely unbreathable for humans. Anyone not wearing Velkari breathing equipment will die. The room fell silent. 30 days to save their entire species. Then we better make this raid count, Song said. The attack on the Busan processing center began at midnight. Kim activated her frequency weapon from a hidden position on a nearby hill. The device sent out waves of sound that human ears couldn't hear, but the effect on the Velkari was immediate. The alien guards stumbled and fell as their artificial bodies stopped responding properly. Their weapons powered down, and their communication systems failed. Song led her fighters through the facility's outer defenses. They moved quickly and quietly, using the darkness to their advantage. The Velkari had never faced a serious human attack before, and their overconfidence worked against them. Inside the processing center, they found horrors beyond imagination. Humans were kept in cages like animals. Men, women, and children were separated and marked for different fates. Some would become laborers, others would be used for medical experiments, and the rest would be eliminated as unnecessary. "Get everyone out," Song ordered. "Leave no one behind." The rescue took 3 hours. By dawn, over 8,000 prisoners had been freed and were making their way through hidden mountain paths to safety. But the victory came at a terrible cost. The Velkari response was swift and brutal. Empress Velandra ordered the immediate execution of all remaining prisoners in processing centers worldwide. Cities that had shown any signs of resistance were bombed from orbit. But worse was the acceleration of the final cleansing. The 30-day timeline was cut to 15 days. "We hurt them," Song said, as she watched alien bombers destroy what was left of Busan. "That's why they're angry." Captain Choi Min-seo's voice crackled over their radio from his hidden command center. "All resistance cells, this is Phoenix Command. The enemy is moving faster than expected. We need to coordinate our next move carefully." He paused, and his voice became harder. "They think they can scare us into giving up. They think killing more of us will break our spirit. They're wrong." Around the world, similar scenes were playing out. In the Amazon, former Brazilian special forces were using the jungle to launch hit-and-run attacks. In the Sahara, nomadic tribes who knew the desert better than any alien were disrupting supply lines. In the mountains of Afghanistan, fighters, who had been at war for generations, turned their skills against a new enemy. The Velkari had expected broken, demoralized humans. Instead, they found an enemy that got more dangerous when cornered. Dr. Park's discovery about the parasitic nature of the Velkari was spread to resistance cells worldwide. Kim Yoo-jin's frequency weapon was being copied and improved by engineers in hiding around the globe. But time was running out. The final cleansing would kill every human on Earth unless they could find a way to stop it. High above Mars, Commander Lee made her decision. Her small fleet would attack the Jupiter Command Facility in 72 hours. It was suicide, but it might give Earth's resistance the time they needed. "All ships, prepare for Operation Thunderbolt," she announced. "We're going to show these aliens that humans don't know how to surrender." As her ships powered up their engines for the long journey to Jupiter, Lee thought about Earth. Somewhere down there, humans were fighting against impossible odds. The least she could do was fight alongside them. The Resistance had learned something important in the past 6 months. The Velkari were powerful, but they weren't invincible. They made mistakes when they were angry, and they could be hurt. Most importantly, they had underestimated what humans would do to protect their home and their freedom. That mistake was about to cost them everything. Commander Lee So-min's fleet approached Jupiter like ghosts in the darkness. 12 ships now made up humanity's space force, built from salvaged parts and desperation. They had spent 2 weeks traveling through the outer solar system, avoiding Velkari patrols. Lieutenant Kang Min-ho piloted the lead fighter, a modified mining vessel armed with improvised weapons. Behind him flew Captain Ro Ji-woo in a converted cargo hauler that now carried humanity's first plasma cannon. "Target acquired," Kang reported over the comm. "The command station is huge. It's got to be 20 miles across." Lee studied the enemy facility through her ship's view screen. The Velkari Command Center hung in space near Io, Jupiter's volcanic moon. Massive communication arrays reached out like the arms of a metal spider, sending signals to every Velkari force in the solar system. "Remember the plan," Lee told her pilots. "We only get one chance at this. Hit the communication arrays first, then the power core. If we can knock out their coordination, Earth's resistance might have a fighting chance." The attack began at 600 hours ship time. Kang's fighters screamed toward the station, dodging defensive fire from automated weapons. The Velkari hadn't expected humans to make it this far into space, and their defenses were designed to stop large fleets, not small, fast ships. "First array down!" Kang shouted as his plasma bolts tore through a massive antenna. Captain Ro followed, up with a torpedo strike that destroyed an entire communication hub. Explosions lit up the darkness as human fury met alien technology, but the station fought back. Energy beams lanced out from hidden weapons, and several human ships disappeared. In balls of fire. "This is suicide," one pilot radioed. "Then we die for something worth dying for," Lee replied, bringing her command ship around for an attack run on the station's core. On Earth, the effects of the space battle were felt immediately. Valkyrie forces suddenly lost contact with their commanders. Orders stopped coming down from orbit. For the first time since the invasion began, the aliens looked confused and uncertain. Major Song Da-yoon saw her chance. "All units, this is the moment. Hit them while they're blind." Across the planet, resistance cells launched coordinated attacks. In New York, fighters emerged from the subway tunnels to assault processing centers. In London, survivors who had been hiding in the ruins struck at alien supply depots. The frequency weapons that Dr. Park and Kim Yoo-jin had developed turned the tide in dozens of small battles. The Valkyrie guards stumbled and fell as their artificial bodies malfunctioned, their weapons powered down at the worst possible moments. For the first time, humans saw their seemingly invincible enemies looking afraid. General Kwon Tae-hyuk, the former head of Asian Pacific Defense, coordinated the global uprising from a hidden bunker in the Korean mountains. He had been gathering intelligence for months, waiting for the right moment to strike. "All resistance commands, this is Operation Wildfire," he broadcast on encrypted channels. "Hit every target simultaneously. Show them what happens when you corner a dangerous animal." The Valkyrie response was swift but uncoordinated. Without clear orders from their command structure, individual units made their own decisions. Some retreated to heavily defended positions. Others lashed out wildly, destroying anything that moved. Empress Velandra, monitoring the situation from her flagship in Earth orbit, realized the humans had done something impossible. Somehow, they had struck at the heart of the Valkyrie command. "Structure! How did they get ships to Jupiter?" she demanded of her advisors. "Unknown, Empress. Our patrols report no human vessels in the outer system." Velandra's artificial face twisted with rage. "Find them and destroy them, and accelerate the final cleansing immediately!" Back at Jupiter, Commander Lee's desperate gamble was paying off, but at a terrible price. Half her fleet was gone, and the survivors were running low on ammunition. "Commander, the station's core is heavily shielded," reported Captain Rowe. "Our weapons aren't getting through." Lee made a decision that would be remembered forever. "All ships, this is Lee. I'm going to ram the core. Cover me!" "Commander, no!" Kang shouted. "There has to be another way!" "There isn't time," Lee replied calmly. "Tell Earth that we did our duty." Her ship, the converted freighter Incheon, accelerated toward the station's power core. Valkyrie defensive fire concentrated on her, but the other human ships drew their attention away just long enough. The Incheon hit the core at maximum speed. The explosion lit up the Jupiter system like a second sun. When the light faded, the massive command station was breaking apart, its communication, arrays dark and silent. The sacrifice worked. Across the solar system, Valkyrie forces found themselves cut off from central command. Some units continued fighting, but many began to fall back to defensive positions, unsure what to do without orders. On Earth, Dr. Park Soo-jin made another, crucial discovery. Working with resistance scientists around the world, she had been studying the Valkyrie atmospheric processors that were slowly poisoning Earth's air. "The final cleansing isn't just about making the air unbreathable," she reported to the resistance leadership. "They're changing the fundamental chemistry of our atmosphere. In 5 days, the air will become actively corrosive to human tissue." "Dr." Bae Hyun-ki looked up from his instruments. "But there's something else. The process requires precise harmonic resonance to work properly. If we could disrupt that resonance, we could stop the process," Park finished. "Maybe even reverse it. The problem was scale. To disrupt the atmospheric processors worldwide, they would need to broadcast the disruption frequency from orbit. And orbit was controlled by the Valkyrie fleet. General Kwon received the report during a firefight with Valkyrie forces trying to retake Seoul. "So we need to get into space to save the planet?" "That's right, sir," Park confirmed over the radio. "We need a way to get our frequency weapon to orbital altitude." "Leave that to me," said a new voice on the channel. Colonel Han Sua had been working on the most dangerous mission of the war. For weeks, she had been infiltrating Velkari communication networks, pretending to be a human collaborator. The aliens trusted her enough to give her access to their facilities. "I'm inside their orbital communication station," she reported. "If Dr. Park can get me the right frequency, I can broadcast it through their own equipment." It was impossibly risky. Han would have to maintain her cover while sabotaging the alien equipment from within. If she was discovered, her death would be slow and horrible. "Send me the data," she said simply. "I've got nothing left to lose anyway." As Han worked to reprogram the Velkari systems, another piece of the puzzle fell into place. Intelligence. Officer Colonel Shin Woo-jin had been monitoring alien communications during the chaos. "General, I'm picking up signals from outside our solar system," he reported. "It sounds like other species are rebelling against the Velkari, too." The intercepted messages were fragmented, but the meaning was clear. On 17 different worlds, enslaved species were rising up against their Velkari masters. News of Earth's resistance had somehow spread across the galaxy, inspiring others to fight. "The aliens have enemies everywhere," Shin continued. "If we can coordinate with them," General Quan smiled grimly, "then the hunters become the hunted." But time was running out. The final cleansing was scheduled to complete in 72 hours. Earth's atmosphere was already becoming difficult to breathe without protection. People were starting to collapse in the streets. Major Song's forces had captured several Velkari breathing devices, but there weren't nearly enough for everyone. Children and elderly people were dying first, their lungs unable to process the corrupted air. "We have to stop this now," Song radioed to resistance commands worldwide. "Whatever we're going to do, it has to be in the next day." High above Earth, Colonel Han made her move. Working through the night, she had managed to access the Velkari orbital communication array. Dr. Park's frequency data was loaded and ready to broadcast. But as she prepared to activate the system, alarms began ringing throughout the alien station. Her infiltration had been discovered. "Human spy detected in Communication Center 7, announced a mechanical voice. Velkari soldiers were closing in on her position. Han could hear their footsteps in the corridor outside. She activated the frequency, broadcast, and held down the transmission button. Around the world, the harmonic disruption signal began interfering with Velkari atmospheric processors. The alien soldiers burst through the door just as Han smiled and spoke her last words. "Earth sends its regards." The frequency weapon worked. Across the planet, the atmospheric processors began shutting down. The poisonous atmosphere started to clear, and humans could breathe freely again. But the Velkari weren't finished. Empress Velandra had one final card to play. If she couldn't have Earth's resources, she would make sure no one else could either. Her flagship began charging its most powerful weapon, a device that could destabilize Earth's sun and destroy the entire solar system. "If I cannot rule this world," she announced to her remaining forces, "then I will see it burn." The weapon would be ready to fire in 6 hours. After that, Earth and everything in it would be nothing but cosmic dust. The final battle for humanity's survival was about to begin. General Kwon Tae-hyuk stood in his command bunker, watching data streams from resistance cells around the world. The atmospheric processors were shutting down, but new intelligence made his blood run cold. "Sir, we're detecting massive energy build-up from the Velkari flagship," reported his communications officer. "Whatever they're charging up there, it's 10 times more powerful than anything they've used before." Dr. Park Soo-jin's voice crackled over the radio from her hidden laboratory. "General, I've analyzed the energy signature. It's a stellar destabilization weapon. They're going to make our sun explode." Quan felt the weight of humanity's fate on his shoulders. "How long do we have?" 4 hours, maybe 5. "After that, the entire solar system becomes a cloud of superheated gas." Across Earth, the news spread through resistance networks. The Velkari Empress had decided that if she couldn't have Earth, no one could. It was the final act of a dying empire. But it would take humanity with it. Lieutenant Colonel Jang Hye-jin led the assault on the North American atmospheric processors. Her team had just finished destroying the facility when the new orders came through. "All units, new priority. Target," Kwan's voice announced. "We need to reach the Velkari orbital platforms. Someone has to get up there and stop that weapon." Jang looked up at the sky, where alien ships still circled like vultures. "Sir, how exactly are we supposed to get to orbit?" Our space program died with the invasion. We're working on it, Quan replied. Hold your positions and wait for further orders. Captain O. Sejun was leading Marine units in the liberation of African mining complexes when the call came. His forces had been using captured Valkyrie equipment against its former owners, and they had learned something important. General, the alien ships are vulnerable to their own frequency weapons, he reported. If we can get close enough to their landing craft, we might be able to commandeer them. Do it, Quan ordered. We need every ship we can get. Around the world, desperate battles erupted as human forces tried to capture intact Valkyrie vessels. The aliens fought fiercely to protect their ships, knowing that losing them meant being stranded on a hostile world. But humans had learned to fight dirty during the occupation. They used the environment against their enemies, setting traps in, ruined cities, and turning the aliens' own technology into weapons. In the Australian outback, Captain Moon Sang-wook's team managed to capture a Valkyrie transport ship. The aliens had underestimated human stubbornness and paid for it with their lives. One ship secured, Moon reported, but it's only big enough for 20 people and we don't know how to fly it yet. That problem was solved by Kim Yoo-jin, the engineer who had developed the first frequency weapons. Working with captured alien technology, she had figured out the basic principles of Valkyrie flight systems. The ships are controlled by harmonic interfaces, she explained over the radio. Think of it like playing a musical instrument, but the music controls gravity and momentum. It wasn't easy, but humans had always been good at learning new things quickly. Pilots who had never seen alien technology before were soon flying captured ships through Earth's atmosphere. The real breakthrough came when Dr. Bae-hyun-ki made a discovery that changed everything. Hidden in the Rocky Mountain laboratory, he had been studying the wreckage of a Valkyrie dreadnought that had crashed during the early battles. Park, you need to see this, he called to his research partner. I've figured out how their stellar weapon works. Dr. Park looked at Bae's analysis and gasped. It uses harmonic resonance to destabilize the nuclear fusion in the star's core, but look at this frequency signature. It's exactly opposite to the frequency we use to stop their atmospheric processors, Bae finished. If we could broadcast a counter-frequency, we could turn their own weapon back on them, Park said. But we'd need massive power to do it, and we'd have to get the signal to their flagship. Admiral Kang Dae-ho, who had been presumed dead since the surrender, suddenly appeared on Resistance communication channels. He had been hiding in a secret command bunker, coordinating operations while pretending to be dead. All units, this is Admiral Kang. I'm still here, and I have a plan. His voice was different now, harder, colder. Months of watching his world burn had changed him. We're going to take the fight to them. Every ship we've captured, every pilot we've trained, every weapon we've built. Everything goes into one final assault on the Valkyrie fleet. General Quan coordinated the impossible plan. Human forces around the world began converging on captured Valkyrie ships. Former soldiers, civilian volunteers, scientists, and engineers. Anyone who could hold a weapon or operate equipment. Captain Choi Min-seo emerged from his hidden command center for the first time since the invasion began. His resistance network had grown into a global army of millions, all united by one simple goal: make the aliens pay. This is Phoenix Command to all resistance forces, he announced. Today we stop running. Today we stop hiding. Today we show these bastards what happens when you threaten humanity's children. The fleet that assembled above Earth was unlike anything that had ever flown. Captured Valkyrie ships flew alongside human vessels that had been rebuilt with alien technology. Civilian cargo haulers carried weapons that could crack mountains. Mining ships had been turned into assault vessels. It wasn't pretty, and it wasn't professional, but it was angry, and it was determined. Admiral Kang took command of the operation from the bridge of a captured Valkyrie cruiser. Next to him stood Captain Choi and General Quan, united for the first time since the war began. Fleet status report, Kang ordered. 37 combat vessels ready for action, reported Captain Moon. Weapons are charged, and all pilots know their assignments. And our secret weapon? Asked Quan. Dr. Park's voice came over the comm from a specially modified ship in the center of the fleet. Counter-frequency generator is online and ready, but we need to get within 10,000 kilometers of their flagship to make it work. That puts us right in the middle of their defensive grid, observed Captain Choi. I know, Kang replied. This is going to hurt. Empress Velandra watched the approaching human fleet from her flagship's bridge. Her artificial face showed no emotion, but inside, the parasite that controlled her was furious. Primitive insects, she hissed. Do they think their stolen ships can threaten the might of the Velkari Empire? Her fleet had been reduced to 50 vessels, but they were still more advanced than anything humans could field. The stellar weapon was 90% charged. In 1 hour, Earth's sun would begin its death spiral. All ships, prepare to destroy the human fleet, she ordered. Leave no survivors. The final battle began in the darkness between Earth and the Moon. Human ships charged straight into the Velkari defensive line, accepting terrible losses to clear. A path for Dr. Park's frequency ship. Captain Moon's cruiser took 3 direct hits and kept fighting. Lieutenant Colonel Zhang's converted transport rammed a Velkari destroyer and took it down with her. Captain O's Marines boarded an alien dreadnought and fought room by room to control it. Frequency ship, you're clear, Admiral Kang shouted over the comm as his own vessel shielded Park's ship from enemy fire. Make your run. Dr. Park activated the counter-frequency generator and aimed it at the Velkari flagship. The harmonic signal reached across space and interfaced with the alien's stellar weapon. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the weapon began to overload. It's working, Park shouted. The frequency is reversing their weapon's polarity. But Empress Velandra had one final trick. As her stellar weapon turned against her own fleet, she activated the ship's self-destruct system. If I die, I take you with me, she transmitted to the human fleet. The flagship began to come apart, but not before Admiral Kang made his own sacrifice. He rammed his ship directly into the alien vessel's core, ensuring that the explosion would happen away from Earth. The death of the Velkari flagship lit up space like a new star. When the light faded, the alien fleet was scattered and broken. All Velkari vessels, this is General Quan Tae-hyuk of the Terran Defense Force, he announced on all frequencies. You have 2 choices, surrender now or share your Empress's fate. Most of the surviving alien ships powered down their weapons. The Velkari Empire's invasion of Earth was over, but the cost had been enormous. Half of Earth's population was dead. Cities lay in ruins. The planet's ecology was damaged beyond easy repair, and humanity had learned something about itself. When he pushed to the edge of extinction, humans didn't break. They became something far more dangerous. The Velkari had wanted Earth's resources. Instead, they had awakened a fury that would reshape the galaxy. 1 year after the Battle of Earth, General Quan Tae-hyuk stood on the observation deck of humanity's first purpose-built warship. The UED's Indomitable hung in orbit above a world that was slowly healing. Below, the scars of war were still visible. Where Sydney once stood, a memorial garden grew from the glassed crater. The ruins of London had been transformed into a center for refugee aid. Seoul was rebuilding stronger than before, with human and alien technology working together. Status. Report, Quan requested from his aide, Commander Park Young-soo. Reconstruction proceeds on schedule, sir. The atmospheric processors have been fully reversed, and air quality is back to pre-invasion levels. Food production is reaching sustainable levels again. Quan nodded. The first year after liberation had been the hardest. With half the human population gone and most infrastructure destroyed, survival itself had been a victory. But humanity had help. The 17 worlds that had rebelled against the Velkari Empire during Earth's darkest hour had sent aid as soon as space lanes were clear. Food, medicine, and technology flowed to Earth from species that had never seen a human but understood what freedom meant. And our new allies? Quan asked. The Zentari delegation arrives tomorrow. They're eager to formalize the mutual defense treaty. Same with the Carillion Republic and the free worlds of Andromeda. Captain Choi Min-seo, now Admiral of the Galactic Defense Force, entered the observation deck. His face showed the weight of command, but his eyes still held the fire that had kept humanity fighting in its darkest hours. The final Velkari holdouts in the Tau Ceti system have surrendered, he reported. That makes it official. The Velkari Empire is completely defeated. It had taken a full year to hunt down the remaining Velkari forces. Unlike their former empire, which had ruled through fear and brutality, the new Terran Federation offered captured enemies a choice: integration or exile to the galaxy's outer rim. Most chose integration. The Velkari parasites, separated from their artificial host bodies, were actually quite intelligent. Without their need to dominate other species, they made valuable researchers and engineers. Dr. Park sends her compliments from the research station, Choi continued. The new harmonic communication system is working perfectly. We can now talk instantly with allies across the entire galaxy. Dr. Park Soo-jin had become Earth's leading expert on harmonic technology. Her work had revolutionized both human science and galactic communication. What the Velkari had used as a weapon, humanity transformed into a tool for peace. The observation deck's doors opened to admit Dr. Bae Hyun-ki, now director of xenobiological studies. Behind him walked an unusual figure, a former Velkari parasite in a specially designed mechanical body. "General, I'd like you to meet Dr. Velkris," Bae said. "He's been helping us understand Velkari technology and has requested to speak with you." The mechanical form moved forward and spoke in a voice like whispered wind. "General Kwon, I wish to express my species' gratitude for your mercy. Under the old empire, defeat meant extinction. You have shown us a different way." Kwon studied the alien carefully. "Your people killed billions of humans. Why should we trust you?" "Because," Velkris replied, "we were slaves too. The Velkari Empire was controlled by a ruling caste that used the rest of us as tools. When you freed us from that system, you freed us from 1,000 years of slavery." It was true. As humanity had learned more about their former enemies, they discovered that the Velkari Empire had been as brutal to its own people as to its victims. The rank-and-file Velkari had been brainwashed and controlled by their leaders. "What your species did," Velkris continued, "was show the galaxy that empires can fall. That tyranny is not eternal. 17 worlds rose up because you proved it was possible." Captain Lee Jun-ho, one of the heroes of the final space battle, approached the group. His ship had been instrumental in capturing the last Velkari dreadnought, which now served as the flagship of Earth's growing fleet. "General, we're receiving signals from the edge of the galaxy," he reported. "Something big is moving in from outside our spiral arm." Kwon felt a familiar chill. "Velkari survivors?" "No, sir. The signals are completely different. This is something new." The group moved to the ship's command center, where the long-range sensor displays showed mysterious objects approaching from the galactic edge. They were huge, larger than any ship in the Velkari fleet had been. "How long until they reach inhabited systems?" Kwon asked. "At current speed, 6 months," replied the sensor officer. Kwon looked around at his officers, humans and aliens working together, united by their shared experience of liberation. A year ago, they had all been enemies or strangers. Now they formed the core of a new kind of galactic civilization. "Then we have 6 months to prepare," he said calmly. "Send messages to all allied worlds. If these newcomers are hostile, they'll find that the galaxy has changed since the Velkari Empire fell." Admiral Choi smiled grimly. "They want to mess with Earth and her allies? They're welcome to try." The transformation of human civilization had been remarkable. Before the Velkari invasion, Earth had been a single planet with limited space travel. Now humans could be found on dozens of worlds, working alongside alien species to build something new. The city ships that once carried human slaves to Velkari mining colonies had been converted into exploration vessels. Human colonists, armed with advanced technology and supported by alien allies, were establishing new settlements throughout the galaxy. But it wasn't conquest. It was cooperation. Every new human colony included representatives from other species. Every research station was a joint venture. The trauma of near extinction had taught humanity the value of unity. "Status of the memorial project?" Kwon asked his aide. "Construction is complete on all 17 liberated worlds, sir. Each one now has a monument to the fallen, commemorating both human and local victims of the Velkari Empire." The monuments were identical across the galaxy, simple stone pillars with the same inscription in every local language. They died, so freedom could live. Dr. Park entered the command center, her face excited. "General, we've made a breakthrough. With the harmonic research, we can now detect artificial consciousness from across interstellar distances." "What does that mean?" Kwon asked. "If these new arrivals are machines or artificial beings, we'll know long before they get here. And if they're organic, We can analyze their technology for weaknesses. The lessons of the Velkhari War had been learned well. Humanity would never again be caught unprepared by alien contact. There's something else, Park continued. We've been monitoring communication signals from the Andromeda Galaxy. There are signs of a massive war going on over there. Billions of voices calling for help. Quan felt the weight of decision. Earth and its allies were still rebuilding from their own war. They weren't ready for another galactic conflict, but they were ready to help those who couldn't help themselves. Draft a message to the Allied Council, he ordered. Begin discussions on sending a relief expedition to Andromeda. If there are people over there fighting for their freedom, they deserve our support. Admiral Choi raised an eyebrow. Sir, that's 2 million light-years away. Even with our new ships, it would be a one-way trip. Then we better make sure the volunteers understand that, Quan replied. But I have a feeling we won't lack for people willing to go. He was right. When the call went out across the Terran, Federation and its allies, applications poured in from every species and every world. The galaxy had learned something from humanity's example, that freedom was worth any sacrifice. As the meeting broke up and officers returned to their duties, Quan remained on the observation deck, looking out at Earth. The planet was green again, its oceans clean, its skies blue. Children played in parks where alien weapons had once burned the ground. Captain Moon Sang-wook joined him, carrying a data pad with the latest reports from the outer colonies. Any regrets, General? Moon asked. Quan considered the question. About the war? No. About the cost? Every day. The Velkhari started something they couldn't finish, Moon observed. They wanted our resources, Quan said quietly. Our minerals, our world, our people as slaves. They thought we were weak because we were peaceful. He paused, watching a transport ship carry supplies to the Mars colonies. They didn't understand that sometimes the most dangerous animal is the one that just wants to be left alone. Push it too far, corner it, threaten its young. Quan's voice grew harder. They found out what human fury looks like, and now every species in the galaxy knows. Earth's children don't just fight for survival. We fight for freedom. We fight for justice. We fight for those who can't fight for themselves. A communication alert chimed. The mysterious signals from the galaxy's edge were getting stronger. Whatever was coming, it would arrive sooner than expected. Alert all fleet commanders, Quan ordered, and send a message to every world in the Federation. He looked out at the stars, where human ships now patrolled alongside vessels from a dozen different species, all united by a shared commitment to liberty. Tell them the same thing we told the Velkhari Empire. Touch our home, face our wrath, threaten our freedom, learn our fury. As alarms sounded throughout the ship and the fleet prepared for whatever was coming, Quan reflected on how much had changed. A year ago, humanity had been on the verge of extinction. Now they were the G,